I think.
There's a lot of AI bots. Hey Nicole, how you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
Doing well. How's everything going? I like your hair.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, just gonna give it a couple more minutes for people to start flying in here. They're just flying. This number's skyrocketed.
Hey Lee, how's it
Good
going?
morning. I'm
Thanks for
well.
joining. Thanks for joining on short notice.
Yeah,
Appreciate
I'm
it.
happy to. It's
Good morning.
pleasure. Good morning.
Invite.
Hey Bonnie, how's it going?
Hi, how are you? I can't tell where that voice is coming from. Oh, Claudia, hello.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
How's it
Good
going?
morning.
And that's Ziggy, but behind me.
All good. Great to see everyone in Baltimore, out and about. And hopefully you are happily hot spotting.
Vicky, it's nice to see you. I got a nice picture for you today. I got a really nice picture for you.
Nice to see you too.
All right, we're just gonna start at around 10:04. Then we're just gonna fly right into it. Hopefully everybody's doing great today.
I am just very excited about temperatures well above 35. Yay.
Do you think we're done? Is it safe to say
Yay.
we're
Well
we're
above.
over it?
Yes, yes, yes. We might have crossed over to the other side of frigid.
I think we have. That's the way
Very
I'm.
exciting.
Yeah,
Very exciting.
I
I
agree.
don't know. Did the groundhog see its shadow or not?
I, I don't know. It was probably frozen, you know. Who
You're
knows?
right.
Yeah, I think
And
we were due for 6 more weeks of winter, but what is the groundhog now?
I'm
Yeah.
okay with 6 more weeks of winter as long as it's above 35.
Right.
Folks joining, and yeah, thanks a lot, Lee and Vicky, for jumping on in short notice. Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
All right, all right, all right. So I think it's about to be 10:04 in probably like 10 seconds. So I'm just gonna start the meeting. Hey everybody. Welcome to the Community Development Network February Equitable Development Meeting. My name's Eddie Blackstone, the host that does the most with the cowboy hat on, because I heard that people like it, so I just put it back on. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So on to the next slide. So ground rules, we lowered the list down a little bit. So we will share the materials and slides with everybody after the meeting. Please mute your phone and audio if you're not talking, just in case there's any sounds that are coming from like the background. Who knows? Some people work from home, maybe kids walk in. And also use the chat box for questions. We will be simultaneously, if I'm talking, Claudia's going to be checking the chat box. Claudia's talking, I'm checking the chat box, and we will have as many questions answered as humanly possible. All right, so agenda for today's meeting. This is the good stuff. This is why you're all here. Introduction and welcome. That's what I'm doing right now. Hey, everybody. Eddie Blackstone, Baltimore Organizer, Community Development Network. Number two will be the Maryland Legal Aid updates with Vicky Schultz. That's where I said I had the wonderful picture. After that will be the Baltimore CDBG, which is Community Development Block Grant updates with Mary Correa from the Baltimore City DHCD. CDN People and Places Day on March 3rd, except we're going to be giving directly after that a testimonial guide for Annapolis. So, how to sign up for the Maryland General Assembly website, where to go, what the pages look like, all of that will be directly given to you right here. And once again, we're also going to be recording this meeting. So, we're going to be sending out that recording to everybody in case they want to go back and see that material. And then lastly, the National Low Income Housing Hill Day, which is essentially going to be the federal version of our People and Places Day. Going to be some great stuff. And then lastly will be questions, discussions, and next steps. And so we're going to be turning it over to Vicky. Are you ready? You see that picture? We're turning it over to Vicky Schultz for the Maryland Legal Aid Proceedings Update. So Vicky, take it away.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. You can take down my picture now. It's me, right? There we go. Yeah, I'm Vicky Schultz. I'm the executive director at Maryland Legal Aid. We're pleased to be with you. I'm joined today by my colleague Lee Ogburn, who's our advocacy director for appellate and impact litigation. And we got this invitation to come today to talk about some developments in a case we brought in federal court to challenge Baltimore City's tax sale system. And in our lawsuit, which we filed a couple of years ago, about a year and a half, we alleged that Baltimore City's tax sale violated the U.S. Constitution by failing to provide just compensation to homeowners when their homes were lost through the tax sale process. So we've been in litigation. Maryland Legal Aid, we had co-counsel, Gupta Wessler, LLP is a firm in DC. They're our co-counsel. They're particularly adept at Supreme Court litigation because we expected that this case might well have gone up to the Supreme Court. So just wanted to tell you a little background about this case. And that is that, this is a long-standing problem that certainly Claudia knows very well. The Baltimore City tax sale system has been problematic for decades, and advocates like Claudia and my colleagues at Maryland Legal Aid have tried to change the tax sale system to make it more fair, to make sure that homeowners were not losing unnecessarily their homes through the tax sale process. And of course, when they do, ending up with almost nothing, no equity in their home. So we know this is a longstanding problem. We've represented homeowners for decades in this process, trying to challenge, unwind, help retain homes for our clients, because this problem really is most pernicious against older homeowners in Baltimore City, and particularly Black homeowners. And so we understand both the potential disparate impact of that system, but also the harms that it causes, because it really robs people of their homes, a place to live, but also keeps that generational wealth from passing on, so that families lose that intergenerational wealth. And those things are really harmful to our city, not to mention it contributes to the vacancy problem. Because what happens in the tax sale system is that the tax lien, that's how our state system is set up, that at tax sale, there's a big auction, tens of thousands of properties are sold all at once, and sophisticated tax lien purchasers come in to buy those tax liens. And the tax lien, the city is allowed to set the minimum bid, and typically their interest was really just to recoup the taxes. So they would set that minimum bid quite low to be able to recoup the taxes, the property taxes that were owed. Mind you, and then what happens is that if the homeowners, 95% of people whose tax liens were sold at auction, redeem their property. They get that property back. They pay back what's owed and any fees, and they retain their property. But that small percentage of homeowners struggle to be able to do that. And the city didn't offer payment plans. It can be very difficult to find your way through that process, and it was really harming communities. So I just wanted to say that that's all the work that's been done, with certainly the Community Development Network of Maryland and other advocates. We tried mightily to change this system by legislation, but that was unsuccessful. There are very powerful interests, the tax lien purchasers among them, who like the system. They make a lot of money by buying those tax liens. They typically yield 12 to 18% interest. So even if they don't redeem the property, which is not their ultimate aim, they get interest on those tax liens. So it's a very lucrative system. And so we had occasion, the Supreme Court rendered a decision in Tyler v. Hennepin County in Minnesota. Hennepin County is where Minneapolis is. It's been in the news a lot lately. And in that case, the Supreme Court found the tax sale system there, which is different than Baltimore City, but they found it unconstitutional because it failed to provide just compensation. And it was that Supreme Court case that got the wheels spinning at Maryland Legal Aid to think, well, what about our tax sale system? Is it constitutionally viable? Should we think about bringing a lawsuit? And so that's what really catalyzed us. It was both the advocacy over decades to change the system, the hard work by many advocates to do that through legislation and through case law, and then this Supreme Court decision that really opened an opportunity. Typically, the Supreme Court has not been a favorable place for us for many of our issues, but they do like private property and they don't like government. So in this instance, it was one that we thought was worth the risk and could be successful. So I'm going to turn, and as part of that process, we overcame a motion to dismiss. We were successful in doing that, which is what defendants do in complex civil litigation right out of the gate. And we were on hold because there's another case pending in the Supreme Court called Pung. It's a Michigan case. It's a little bit different. Each of these tax sale systems are just slightly different, but this was a case out of Michigan in which they found that the property that the Pung estate held was sold at auction. The property itself, not the tax lien, but the property, and they got 40% of what they thought the fair market value would be. And the court said, well, that's good enough. You had an auction. And then they were affirmed again in the circuit court. But the Supreme Court took cert. Pung petitioned, took cert, and they want to jump into this case for some reason. So that case is pending. We did an amicus brief, we, meaning Lee and his team, at Maryland Legal Aid. And then we expect a decision in that case in the summer. So I just wanted to do the setup for where we are now, because in the midst of all that, we have struck an agreement with the city. And I'm going to turn to my colleague with great thanks to Lee Ogburn and the team who've been working hard on this case, because we've reached an exciting agreement to stay the case. Lee, you want to take over?
Sure, thanks, Vicki. By way of 30-second background, the idea of suing the city on the theory that its tax sale process was unconstitutional really did arise out of the Supreme Court's decision back in 2023, in the case that Vicki mentioned, Tyler versus Hennepin County, and which did not involve a system like ours. In Minnesota, if your property, if the state, county sold your property through a tax sale, it kept all the proceeds of the tax sale. You got nothing back. Your taxes were paid, but otherwise you lost everything. And the Supreme Court decided in the spring of 2023 that was unconstitutional. That was a taking without just compensation. The Fifth Amendment, as you all probably know, guarantees just compensation if the government takes your property. And the court said that's not just compensation. That did lead us to think here, well, although in Maryland, one is entitled to the proceeds above the amount of the tax sale if you lose your property through that system, Maybe it's also an unconstitutional taking if the state or the local jurisdiction, Baltimore City, depresses the proceeds, the amount of the proceeds, by driving down the bids in the tax sale auction. And our thinking was that in Maryland, which across the state by state statute, counties in the city auction the tax lien, not the property. So if you've got $100,000 property with a $2,000 tax lien, 1 year's taxes more or less, a tax sale purchaser can buy that lien for $2,001. And if eventually you are unable to redeem your property, you lose the property to the tax sale purchaser for $2,001. So in a nutshell, you've lost your $100,000 property, your house, for $2,000. We thought, even though you get the dollar back, if you will, in Maryland, that might also be an unconstitutional thing. So we sued the city back in the summer of 2024, and a couple of private tax sale purchasers alleging they were state actors. And of course, as Vicky said, the city and the tax sale purchasers filed a motion to dismiss, which teed up the legal issues in the case about whether we had alleged an unconstitutional taking. And Judge Herson decided in August of last year, 2025, that we'd stated a claim. And that got the city's attention. And we had discussions with the city thereafter, leading to several weeks ago, an agreement with the city to stay the case. We didn't dismiss the case. The case is still pending, but we stayed it, meaning there'll be no activity for 2 years. In exchange for this agreement, the city agreed to institute payment plans for low-income property owners this year in 2026. You all probably know that's something the city had been talking about trying to do for years and never accomplished. But it's agreed to institute payment plans. We don't know the number, to be fair. There's no set number the city is guaranteed, but there will be payment plans this year, and there will be an expanded payment plan program next year for low-income people to pay their past due taxes, not their current tax bill, which is required by state statute to be paid in not more than 2 installments, but their past due taxes can be paid in any way the local jurisdiction agrees. And the city is going to reach out and offer payment plans to people with past due taxes this year and next year. In addition, and maybe even more importantly, it's going to set the minimum bid in the tax sale auction, which, remember, is the sale of the lien, not the property, and that's by state statute. It's going to set the minimum bid rather than at the amount of the lien, which has been the historical precedent forever. Instead, it's going to set the minimum bid at the amount of the assessed value of the property. So what the basis on which the taxpayer has been paying taxes will be the basis on which the taxpayer will be paid back if the taxpayer is unable to redeem the lien and keep the property. That, we believe, will address the just compensation issue, because if in the unlikely event you're unable to redeem your property, meaning pay back the lien and the 12 or 18% interest the tax sale purchaser receives by law, if you can't do that, then and you lose your property, at least you will get the value of the property that you lost, which has not been the case in Baltimore City or typically anywhere across the state of Maryland. And that, we believe, is a significant shift in the equities and in the manner in which this process plays out. That's guaranteed for the next 2 years also. We're advised the city won't reach an agreement for more than the current term of the mayor, so that the mayor doesn't impose on some subsequent administration an agreement that administration didn't reach. So we couldn't get more than 2 years, and that's why we agreed to stay rather than dismiss the case. So in the unlikely event that the city goes back in 2 years to the current system, the case will still be on the books and we can resume where we left off, seeking an order from the court that the city system doesn't provide just compensation. As a practical matter, well, I should add, there was a third component to the agreement, which is our clients. We had two clients in the federal case. One was a local community organization, you may know, Edmondson Community Organization, call it ECO. ECO had a building in Edmondson. It had a $2,500 tax lien on that building, which it couldn't pay. Lost the building for a purchaser, bought the lien for $5,000. ECO couldn't redeem the lien, and the tax sale purchaser then sold the building at a public auction for $139,500. So ECO's $140,000 building was lost to it for $5,000. We claimed that wasn't just compensation. We had also an individual client, a woman named Benita Anderson, who lost her $175,000 house for $69,000 bid in the tax lien. Both Ms. Anderson and ECO got back in this agreement all of the money that they lost through the sale. So ECO got the difference between the $5,000 it had received and the $140,000 that its property brought. And Ms. Anderson got the difference between the $70,000 round numbers that she received and the $175,000 that her property brought. So they were made whole. What will happen going forward? This Pung case that Vicki mentioned will be argued, by the way, if anybody's interested, on February 25th in the United States Supreme Court. The two options, obviously available to the court at that time will be to measure just compensation by a public auction of the property. Remember, in Maryland, there's a public auction of the lien, not the property. And we argued in our case, and there's some empirical information to support the idea that auctioning the lien doesn't bring as much money as auctioning the property. And the reason is fairly obvious. The lien is worth less than the property. If you buy the lien, you don't necessarily get the property. So we had argued that selling the lien is an unconstitutional taking. In Pung, the sort of the low option before the court is a public auction of the property. And then that's Isabella County, the local jurisdiction, is arguing that that's sufficient. And the Pung estate that lost its property is arguing that just compensation requires fair market value, which is even higher, at least potentially, than a public auction of the property. Those seem to be the two options before the court. Of course, the court is the Supreme Court of the United States and will rule whatever it wishes. But it's likely that it'll be one of those two things or something in between them. And it looks to us like Maryland's system of selling the lien wouldn't meet that constitutional bar, either of a fair auction of the property or of the fair market value. So it may well be that by June 15th, more or less, when the current Supreme Court term is over, the Supreme Court has to rule by then. So by then, there'll be a decision on the books that may well result in a conclusion that Maryland's process across the state of selling liens in tax sales is unconstitutional. And that's going to make next year's General Assembly a very busy place because the state will have to come up with some alternative approach in fairly short order, revising its tax sale system really from the ground up. And I think we may be looking at that in the coming 7 months. So that's a short summary of where we've gone. I mean, Vicki, we had a press conference last Monday, a week ago Monday. The mayor spoke and announced this. Vicki then spoke and stole the show. He got zero applause. She got a lot of applause from an admittedly friendly audience, but still, it was great. And we'll see how this plays out now in this coming 2026 tax sale, which is just a few months down the road.
But we just want to say, we want to thank really the mayor and the administration because frankly, they didn't have to do this. The mayor could have, waited for the Supreme Court to render a decision. They could have not come to the table. So I just want to acknowledge that. I think it's important to say that because they were not compelled to make this agreement. They earnestly wanted to make this agreement and to help reform the system. So I do want to call that out because I think that's significant. Leadership matters, and it wasn't a requirement. They didn't have to do this. They weren't compelled to make an agreement at this time. So we really, I am sincere about that. We thank them for doing that. As I said, this is a system not of their making, but it was theirs to solve. And they came to the table to try and do that. And we appreciate it. I also want to call out SOS Fund because in the meantime, this is where all of us are needed when there are systemic problems. The SOS Fund came and the Hackerman Foundation jumped in. Nancy Hackerman was concerned. She'd read the article about the tax sale system and she helped they help provide resources to SOS, but SOS has been on the ground on this issue for a long time, and they reached out to homeowners who are at risk of losing their homes and really helped identify and help people retain those homes. And with the resources that the Hackerman Foundation provided, they helped to kind of mitigate the harms and the risk while we were in the process of litigating this case. And I just want to thank them because it really kind of takes all of us to be able to change systems that we know where we know we can do better. They are not fair, they're not equitable, and so appreciate the efforts that were made.
So yeah, I just wanted to lift up this work. I've been involved in this work for a really long time and really just appreciate all the collaboration from SOS Fund, PBRC, Maryland Volunteer Lawyers Service, legal aid. Like it just takes the group of us to actually make progress and to also, I think the long haul of this was always for me is, it's one thing that we're harming an individual, but we're also harming the community at the same time. So that when we have this discussion, I have also keep lifting up like, that one, person who loses their house. Yeah, it's a small percentage, but that's a significant blight in the community. And, we've got to keep our eye on both things at the same time, the people and the place. So I really appreciate all your hard work on this and the collaboration. So I did put some information in the chat. This is in a tax sale work group meeting, but I just thought it would be good for you to come and update the larger group of Baltimore stakeholders on this issue. But I really appreciate you coming by. And does anybody have any questions about this? Really, in any direction? Go ahead, Janelle.
Good morning, and thank you all for an excellent information session. Admittedly, I am new to my role, so I am trying to get a full understanding of what the next steps would be for individuals and organizations to ensure that the process is favorable to the homeowner.
Thank you for that question. I think, the key right now is making sure that those commitments are upheld, by the city. So this is where kind of eyes on the ground, all of us really need to keep an eye on what's happening. As, Lee mentioned, the city has committed to offering payment plans for the first time for homeowners who haven't been able to pay their taxes. And so that's one thing we're going to be looking at to see, are people getting that opportunity to especially, and we ask them to prioritize low income homeowners because we know that's really the population, that's who we represent, and that is the population that struggles. So we really appreciate your viewpoints. You'll be on the ground in communities understanding how this is bearing out and whether people are getting those opportunities and also spreading the word about that. So, and then we'll have the auction, and the minimum bid again will be set at assessed value. So that's it. But really kind of the intel, the on the ground information to make sure this is happening and that people are getting connected to resources so that they can retain their homes. I think that's where you could be enormously helpful to us. So we appreciate your kind of eyes on in all sorts of communities.
If I can,
And I would just,
Janelle, if I may, I'm sorry, Claudia, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, we've been pushing on the city to have payment plans now for easily 10 years or more. That's a very simple thing that we've been advocating for that hasn't happened. But with this, I'm excited that like, hey, we might actually get payment plans out of this. And that would be significant for the city of Baltimore.
Good.
Yeah, it is.
Janelle, another thing to keep an eye on, if someone comes to you, a low income person with a tax sale problem, look at the homeowner's tax credit. That the homeowner's tax credit can solve a lot of people's tax sale problems. It's something that's out there for anyone who is low income, but it's not known by a lot of people. And some people who do know it they have to go through the process every year, and it's a stumbling block to actually getting help. So have a look at the homeowner's tax credit. It may be able to help the folks you're talking to.
And thank you for that. And how is low income being determined?
In the homeowner's tax credit,
I'll put the
Yeah.
link to the
Yeah.
homeowner's tax credit information into the chat right now, and you'll see the scale
Defined by the
exactly,
state.
and
And
it's
does
a
that
fine thing.
does that correlate to the tax sale amount?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
The information from the tax sale ombudsman, absolutely. So I'll make sure you have all of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
But again, I would also, you can refer people to the SOS fund or to the Pro Bono Research Center or to Legal Aid, and we will get them to the right place. There are also tax sale clinics that the Pro Bono Resource Center does, and I'll make sure we send out that information as well.
Absolutely. That. I don't know who was next. Was it Genevieve?
Yes, thank you. Claudia, thank you for pulling this together. I appreciate the notification. And Vicki and Lee, also appreciate your overview. I am an affordable housing multifamily developer, and would love to better understand how BVRI will apply to vacant multifamily properties. I understand much of the conversation has been towards home ownership, and so would love to better hear the rental side and even the for sale side of multifamily, i.e. condos, and how BVRE can apply to those types of properties and occupants.
outside my area of expertise, Genevieve, I'm afraid I'm not helpful to you.
Okay.
I think really our lawsuit is really about it's about homeowners, it's about residential properties. We really didn't we don't really deal as much with the condo owners as much in our wheelhouse as far as the clients that we represent. And this, just so you know, it really focuses on residential properties and specifically targeting owner occupied properties, which may include condos, but that was not in our consideration, as Lee mentioned.
And rental properties weren't part of the scope as well.
No, I mean, the tax sale is the responsibility of the owner of the property. It can affect a renter, of course, if the landlord defaults on the taxes and the property sold, renters are affected. But we looked at this from the perspective of the property owner, and particularly from the perspective of low income
and owner occupied. But you're right, it could be a residential property that is, for renters too. So, it's possible that the scope could reach that. But I will say that I think the targeting for during this day is particularly focused on, again, prioritizing low income homeowners, and then for the payment plans. But with, I think, broad availability, eventually, we'll see what happens. We have a 2-year agreement. So, and it's a big system. So I'm not sure that all the nuances that you're speaking about have been considered as yet. We really focused on owner occupied, and certainly that is a subset of residential. And we know there's tangled title and all kinds of problems in residential property that sweeps in folks that we also are concerned about, but not specifically addressed.
Thank you.
Valerie?
Hi, yes, thank you again, everyone, for having this conversation. I've actually been helping someone in my personal life who is in this situation. They purchased a home and it was sold last year, and the tax lien was put on their property. And he reached out to the owner of the lien, and was told that the lien has been canceled. So I wasn't sure if this was a part of this conversation. I also checked the SStat website and saw it just has his name on the property and no lien is mentioned any longer. So I don't know if there's just any other entity I can confirm this with in the city, just to make sure everything's been rectified with his situation.
So Valerie, I would just you can reach out to like somebody at the SOS fund and just reach out to their client intake number. And I think that we put the SOS fund link. Somebody put it in the chat, but I can put it in the chat again. But also, email me and I'll try to get you to the right person so that they can give you an answer. But I think the idea that it's right on SStat is a really good sign. That's excellent.
Yes. And thank you again, because after the new year, I remember you had sent me some resources to help with that, and I did put them in touch. And I don't know if that might have been what got this situation canceled or not, but I appreciate that, and I'll definitely reach out again to SOS for him.
Yeah, and I
Thank
think,
you.
that's a good point, Valerie. For any of those kind of individual concerns or whatever, definitely you want to seek some help, as Claudia mentioned, from SOS or from one of us. If they, our services, you have to qualify and be income qualified for us to help you at legal aid and PBRC and some of our colleagues. But
Yeah.
please
And
do reach out.
I would also just put in a plug for the HUD certified housing counselors across the city. They do have experience helping people
Yes.
with the homeowner's tax credit and the other tax and the homestead tax credits and other tax credits that they may be available to them. So that is also a resource for folks to where you're able and where, whether it's Southeast CDC or Druid Heights, you can make an appointment with a HUD certified counselors and also help people get that homeowner's tax credit. And right now, you do have to apply for the homeowner's tax credit every year. That has also been something that people keep talking about over and over. And God, I think it's 10 or 12 years. Yeah, it would be great if we could just sign them up once and they would get it year after year, but that's not the way the system works. And yeah, it should work that way, but it doesn't. It's along with the other federal benefits, you have to certify people each year. And so I think that is, we do see elderly folks fall out. We've had a lot of conversations with SDAT over time about how we could make that happen and what some of the barriers to people having to apply and reapply every year. But again, fight on with the advocates. We've got a great group of people who have been just pushing in every direction. But you do have to apply for the homeowner's tax credit every year. So that's also an issue. And we do see people fall out, and we saw people fall out during the pandemic for sure. So yeah, just one more thing, one more barrier. But yeah, no, thank you so much, Vicky and Lee, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I see Mary Correa has joined us. So Eddie, take it away.
All right, absolutely beautiful. So let me pop up the slideshow again, even though it's not going to be up here for very long. But I just wanted to show that, bam, this slide looks a little different than it started off. Lee, I had to add you, man. I had to add you. Thank you to your website. But on to our next updates. We're going to be having Mary Correa with the CDBG Community Development Block Grants update. So Mary, by all means, take it away.
Hey everyone, good morning. Mary Correa, Deputy Commissioner for Consolidated Planning at the city's DHCD. My division oversees the city's community development block grant funding. Most of you know who I am. Those of you who don't, there's my little intro. Thanks, Eddie. Just a couple of updates on CDBG. So the grant agreement for this fiscal year, which is CD 51, was finally approved by the Board of Estimates on February 4th. So the contracts team is working hard to get those contracts signed so that we can start making payments. So just keep an eye out for your contract officer to send you an email with a 3-day turnaround time to sign your grant agreement and get that back. And we have a process internally that as soon as we get your contract back and signed from you, it's going right to the commissioner in our law department for signature. And as soon as it comes back from that, then we are moving forward with processing your Q1 and Q2 payments. We do have a fairly small contracts team. It's only 2 folks working on this. So a little bit of patience. They're working as hard as they can to get these out to y'all. If there's any that feel particularly stuck or you're not sure where they are, you can always reach out to me and I can help move it along. But Q1 and Q2 payments are indeed starting to move. I approved a bunch of them last week, so they are going out. And as always, thank you guys for your patience. We cannot do anything about how long it takes HUD to get stuff back to us, and then the board process takes as long as it takes, and we try and be ready and teed up for that to expedite as soon as we're able to. And then the only other update is for CD 52, which will be fiscal year 27. The application for operating funds is currently open. That'll close next Friday. All of our, applications and awards are always contingent upon receiving funding from HUD. It looks like the legislation was finally passed last week to actually fund fiscal year 27, the city's fiscal year 27. So that's good news. CDBG appeared to be funded levelly, but because it's a formula grant, we don't know our exact amount until they start doing the math on all of that stuff. So get your applications in for operating. We have also opened limited capital applications specifically to support Reframe Baltimore, and it's for specific capital activities within specific geographies. We held an information session on that last week or the week before. And if you guys want more information on that, you can give me a holler. I think that's all the news there is to report right now for CDBG, but happy to answer any questions anybody might have.
Bonnie.
Hi, Mary. Bonnie Besser from Rebuilding Together Baltimore. We also get CDBG funding through Baltimore County, and those contracts have been moving a little bit faster, and so we've got our contract in our hand. And there was an addendum to our contract that I wanted to see if you think these requirements are going to also be included in the city contracts around basically certifying that people who are receiving services through funded by CDBG are legal residents.
So the city is actually enjoined with about 60 other jurisdictions in legal action against HUD with this. It is King County versus, I think it's HUD and a couple of other agencies. We are part of that suit. Currently, the ruling is that our case was upheld, that basically we found those things to be unconstitutional. My understanding is that HUD is going to appeal that. It'll be seen at the appellate recently, but we, the city, struck those provisions from our grant agreement when we sent it back to HUD, and that was probably part of the delay of how long it took. Is that we struck those provisions, we legally struck those provisions out of our copy of the grant agreement when we sent that back to HUD, and that is what basically the jurisdictions who are enjoined in that lawsuit are doing. We don't know where that will finally play out in the courts. There was no stay on it, so for right now, it's in force until it goes to the appellate, and depending on how it rules at the appellate, whether it goes higher than that. So for this grant year, we are not including those
You will
terms.
not have to sign off on that.
I
Okay.
do have, if you want to contact me offline, there are some community development organizations that are providing some kind of guidance to other organizations, but I would say it really needs to come from the county in terms of how to go about doing that and the Save Act stuff. So you should probably reach out to the county and kind of find out
Absolutely. Yeah, I was not asking you to tell me what to do with the county. I've reached
Yeah.
out to Jasmine and Colleen there. I just wanted to see if I need to be prepared for it to be in the city contract language.
Struck from ours for
Ultimately,
right
I'd love
now.
to hear more about that legal action because I had heard that. I heard there were some jurisdictions in California that were pushing back on it. Um,
There's 60
and
across the country, and so
wow, okay.
it's King County. I can see if I can find it. We enjoined it. We weren't originally part of it, and then we joined it. And so there's quite a number of jurisdictions that are involved in that legal action.
Thank you, Mary.
Sure, no problem.
And Molly.
Hey, Mary, we usually reference the city's consolidated plan in our application, and the last one we have on file ended in 2025. When I went to the website to click on the consolidated plan link, it downloaded the annual plan for CD 51. So I don't have
So the
access. I
new
wonder if
con
it's
plan
available.
isn't up there?
As far as I can tell, it's not linked in a place that I can find. So if you could direct
I
us.
haven't been able to find it either.
Hang on one second. I'll look real quick right this. I don't want to waste you guys' time. New con plan not on website. The city also just moved to a new website, so there's been some redirection issues. But as soon as I get off this call, I'll go check with Susan and make sure that the new con plan is up there for you guys to reference. It didn't change super substantially from the last one. We added a little bit more content about including like the Reframe Baltimore stuff, but I think it's pretty standard over year. But I'll find out from Susan where the link for that is.
Great.
And something also, Molly, seeing you brought this up, just for a point of clarification, and an email went out last week. For those of you who are year-over-year applicants, we did change our requirements for our budget template this year that allows organizations to only need to include compensation and fringe as one line item in your budget, and then to just let us know which positions you would realistically potentially see doing work under compensation and fringe. So you no longer need to list the person name. You should list any position that seems reasonable, even if like the ED might need to jump in because a position leaves. And this is always just for program specific work. It's not for the running of your organization or anything like that. It's specific to what we're funding you for. But you don't have to include the salary, the percentage of time spent, because what we were hearing back from a lot of our subrecipients is, midway through the year, somebody leaves, somebody else needs to jump in to work on the program. They're not listed in the budget. It's a whole thing to try and revise the budget. What you will need to do is continue to show when you submit your backup documentation who those positions were, how much money it was, kind of what amount of their time, because obviously it needs to be reasonable. But so just one line item, compensation and fringe, total dollar amount for whatever you were awarded for that as an activity, or what you're asking for that as an activity, and then just the positions on A2, no breakout on anything. And Molly, thanks for raising that for us, because that was the intention, and the communication just got disconnected internally, so we had to work through it. And as always, I appreciate you guys coming to us with feedback on what makes it harder for you, what makes it easier for you. I had done some conversations several months ago on kind of like just a CDBG roundtable. I'm hoping to pick that back up again. Life happens, things get in the way, but now that we're kind of through the we're kind of in a quiet period, hopefully that can pick back up again. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mary. This is
Yeah.
this is really helpful, and this communication is really helpful. And I had invited Kimberly Rubens. I know the city ought to be closer to a comprehensive housing plan, and I know that hopefully in the next 60 days we will see it. But I was hoping to have Kimberly do a presentation of that. And so I think it'll be after session at this point, just knowing what what's on everybody's calendar and all the things that folks are trying to do. But I do think when you find the consolidated plan link, could you make sure that me and Eddie get it? Because that is a frequent question that, that's the kind of question that I hope we can also just help. Here it is. Oh, it moved here, or, whatever.
Absolutely, I'll get that to you. And just, I do know on the housing plan that there have been some revisions and edits going on and kind of fine tuning it. Kimberly will definitely be able to better speak to that, but it's just kind of an ongoing process of making sure that we're getting it exactly right because it's an important plan moving forward.
Yes, I completely understand. I understood that it was, it's like, to me, it's that last 10% that's the hardest. So yes, I understood that. But this is great. Really appreciate also everyone for being on today. Just sharing that information, I think is great. Thank
Yeah,
you.
happy to join you guys anytime, and I will find out about the con plan and I will send that over so you can send it out to everybody.
Sounds great.
Great,
Thank you so
thanks,
much.
guys.
Yeah, take care. Okay.
All right. Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Mary, so much. All right, now one thing I realized is that last time when I was talking, the slideshow was not up, so we're actually gonna throw the slideshow up because this is being recorded. I don't want to look like a liar. There it is with Vicky and Lee, Mary, and now we're gonna be moving on to some of the CDN initiatives. So first, to start off, we want to start with People and Places Day on March 3rd. And that is coming up. It's going to be in Annapolis from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We're going to be having, and also when we send you out these slides, you can sign up on our Eventbrite right here. You can click on where it says here, and you can sign up, grab a ticket. Of course, they're free because there's no payment for advocacy. Program from 9 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. where we'll be having, Secretary Jake Day. We're going to have Comptroller Brooke Learman. We're going to be doing visits from to our elected officials from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. So everybody, please prepare any concerns that you have, any advocacy points that you would like to make from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then the DHCD capital budget hearing starts at 2 p.m. And I know a lot of times there's a lot of question around, well, why is People in Places Day so important? And so I'm actually going to show you all why right now, because there's actually a proposed DHCD budget where it is right here on my screen. So, can everyone see my screen? All right, perfect. So, right here, just for on page 4 of the proposed 2027 budget, the Department of Housing and Community Development, a lot of the programs that are really involved in the housing, the community development space are part of the capital budget. And so we have the Baltimore Regional Neighborhood Initiative, Bernie. We have the Community Development Block Grant Program, which which Mary was just talking about. The Community Legacy Program, the home ownership programs where it says $25 million. A lot of these programs that are in the capital budget, we need to have an activation of our Baltimore constituency to come out to People and Places Day, to talk to elected officials, and to go to the hearing so that they can understand from the people that are doing the work the importance of not only continuing this funding, but also the importance of operational grants, the importance of understanding the real stories that are going on with a lot of the clients that you have, especially when it comes to stuff like the Perny program, home ownership programs, and it needs to come from you all. And if not from you all, if you have anybody that you know, any clients or anybody that you feel like has genuine stories that you want to bring out, they need to hear these things, because only when it comes from our mouths will they really understand the importance of not only continuing this funding, but possibly increasing this funding and making sure that this stays stable. So just wanted to show that because it's a very important point, because a lot of times we have conversations with people and they're just like, well, People in Places Day is nice, but what is the point? Well, on that very same day, the capital budget hearing is happening. And so another piece of this was actually where we wanted to go through the testimonial guides with you all. Because another question that we usually get is, well, how do you testify? How do you do this? How do you do that? And it's just like, we're going to show you. We're going to show you. All right, so we're actually going to do a step-by-step testimonial guide for everybody that's on this call right now, in case you know, in case you don't know. If you know, we appreciate you sticking in with us. If you don't know, here you go. All right, so are you ready? Yes, I put the GIF on here of the chicken. Yes, I did. All right, so first, you create a My General Assembly account. So you could literally Google it, like this screenshot right here. You could Google it, and it'll be the first page, the home page. You just click the page. Directly after that, you're going to be taken to the Maryland General Assembly homepage. On that homepage, if you go to the upper right corner, you're going to see where it says My MGA in a little box. You click on that little box, and then it's going to have a drop down menu where you can sign in if you already have an account, or you can register if you do not have an account. If you forgot your password, then you can do that too. And so you see this beautiful little arrow, and then it'll take you to this page right here. As soon as you get taken to the create a new account page, you just fill out every single box that has a red star next to it. Everything else is optional. And then once you do that, bam, you have your account. However, once you get that account, it's going to take you to this page right here. This is where you would sign into your account. Once you sign into your account, it'll take you to this next page below. Now, when you get to this page, you can have specific, if there's any specific bills that you would like to track, you can put them in a list on here. It's very nice. But specifically for People and Places Day, there is a need to submit testimony before you're able to speak at the Senate budgetorial hearing. And so what you would need to do is you would need to click over here on the left where it says witness sign up. As soon as you click on witness sign up, you will be taken to this page right here. It's going to have a list of all the different committees in the House and in the Senate. And so what you're going to do is directly after that, specifically if you want to do the capital budget hearing, you're going to click on the drop down menu right here that says committees, and you're going to go to Health and Social Services, specifically Health and Social Services, because the capital budget hearing will be with the Appropriations Committee. So once you click on Health and Social Services, it'll take you directly here where it says House, Health and Social Services Subcommittee, and the Appropriations Committee. What you're going to be looking for is specifically right here where it says S00A, the Department of Housing and Community Development. You're going to click on where it says testimony, and it'll be written testimony. It'll be oral testimony. You can just submit written testimony if you would like. You can submit oral testimony if you want to speak. And we'll also have a sample that Claudia has given many times in her weekly updates, but also we're going to be sending it in this PowerPoint as well. Just a example of, if important case, we know there's a lot of busy people that are on the call. You just want to copy and paste. You just want to add a couple of sentences so that you're able to just go like, hey, we're going to send these out, because the big thing is when it comes to submitting testimony, it opens 2 days before the actual hearing happens. So it's a really fast turnover, but in this specific case, it's only 1 day. So usually it's 2 days, but in this specific case, there's 1 day where you have to submit this, and it is Claudia, please help me. It's February 26th or February 27th where they would have to submit for the budgetary hearing.
Sorry, you guys, I'm muted. I'm sorry about that. I'm talking and I'm muted. Rookie mistake here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, Eddie, this is always really confusing, but we have lots of presentations about when testimony is due. And I'll be honest, even for myself, I try not to remember. I try to write everything down. Just write it on your calendar because otherwise you're going to screw up. So yesterday was the date that testimony was due for Wednesday. On the 23rd, the operating budget hearing testimony is due in February because it's 2 business days before. Why is this confusing? Because they don't make it easy, you guys. They just simply don't make it easy. And so write these dates down. You can have these dates. I can give you the slides from our public policy committee meeting, and you can have all of that. I will also put in there the link to sample testimony. But if you hit a bump, call me. I've gotten several messages yesterday. I was able to, as a matter of fact, Chrissy, I didn't call you back, but I think we're good. We're like in a good place. I sent you the things that you need, so you have sample testimony. And the also here, do not just, you can also call each other. Like, there are folks who've been doing this for a while, like, Molly, I know Nicole, Bonnie, like you've written, it's like if you can't reach me, you call one of your colleagues. But don't also, if you miss a date, roll on, everyone. Like life happens. Yep, I made a mistake. I missed a date. Yep. But if you don't write this down, it doesn't happen. And I will also just stress what Eddie is also saying. This year is different, right? It is different. It is not like other years. What the Department of Housing and Community Development has done is given conditional awards for fiscal year 27, which means that folks do not have the same, it's not guaranteed that you get money. The budget may not be ratified at the $20 million mark, but it's going to be a lot harder to eliminate somebody you know. All right. So that's why everyone needs to show up in Annapolis. I can't stress it strongly enough. And for folks who are not at this meeting today, tell your colleagues, okay, and again, you don't like CDN, you want to go on another day, go on another day. But you better get there. You better figure out how to submit testimony. It's super important if you're getting Bernie or community legacy. And also, if you're not getting this money and you want to, you also should put that in the letter. Hey, but for we could have done this project, but we can't do it without operating dollars. We can't do it without capital dollars. You really need to hammer that home. So I really would just stress everyone that don't try to remember every single date and 2 days before. Put it on your calendar because you can't remember everything. But no, thank you, Eddie. Also, like it's not easy also to find things, but ask each other. Hit one of those messages that we've sent out and reply all like, hey, I'm having trouble. Can someone help me? I really appreciate when people do that. So yeah, happy to help any way I can.
Beautiful. And that goes double for me. If anybody needs any help, and if Claudia happens to be in Annapolis or busy, by all means, reach out to me. We're all a family here. So, I wanted to actually, another piece of this is if you are able to do it, we do have sample testimonies that we can send out to you. It once again, it's going to be in the PowerPoint, so you can literally just click on any of the links that I included on here. You can click on it and go directly to the sample budget. I mean, the sample budget testimony. You can go directly to the People and Places Eventbrite. So here it is. And so you can just put your logo on here. You can add your organization wherever it says organization. You can literally just put sentences in here about what your organization does, how long it's been doing it. It's literally an easy copy and paste if important case. But another thing is you don't have to use this. You can use this as a guide. You can use this like literally. We just wanted to make sure that we offer as many resources as humanly possible so that if it's point in case, if people are new to their jobs, if they haven't done this before. So I work with a lot of young people that are just getting into advocacy, like the Baltimore City Youth Action Board, like Baltimore Algebra Project. And especially when working with young people, it's very effective to have a template. And so once again, it's here if you need it. If important case, you're not able to get to it, let me know. We can send it all out. All right. Well, first, is there any questions around People and Places Day before I go on? I like to offer them pause. I love to offer pauses. No? No? Okay. Oh, Janelle.
I know, slid in there last minute.
Yeah.
So with advocacy, I've done advocacy for um, health issues in the past. Is there an effort for us to be galvanized in our approach, be it a certain color, certain messaging, taglines that we want to, you know, if everybody is saying it, then we're repeating the message.
I mean, of course. So one of the main, so we can send out on the follow-up email, we can send out what that messaging is, but definitely one of the main messages is definitely around the budget and making sure that the operational and capital funds for programs that are actively doing the work remains. And then also another piece of it is there's a lot of funding that's being essentially fenced off before it's even a part of the capital budget. So like that's been consistently increasing over the years where behind the scenes they're fencing off money for specific organizations. And I think that is another piece where we want to emphasize that that needs not to happen because that takes away from the integrity of the competitive process that's supposed to take place. So those are two of the excuse me, those are two of the main points. And we can send all of that out, Janelle, so that we can have that messaging on point so that you know exactly when it comes to our advocacy efforts, what we're fighting for.
Great. I'm looking for a slogan though. So that's what I mean, like something that's catchy. So
That's
I'll think
catchy.
of some things too, and that way we're all saying it.
Oh, okay. So like, like kind of like when they're like doing a strike, they all yell out like a specific line.
Exactly.
Janelle, I'm super excited to hear you say this. So I will say that this has been somewhat of a thorny issue for CDN over time, but we have been right now, um, we're undergoing some change within our organization, and we've been saying we advocate for strong communities and secure housing in Maryland. And then I just put in the chat our 2026 legislative priorities. And so the four bullets at the top, like what are our priorities? The Maryland state budget, increasing affordable housing production, preservation, and repair, supporting nonprofits by ensuring they have the necessary operating support to survive and the flexibility needed to provide services. Inevitably, like we have a group of groups that do different things. And so people say, oh, I don't like that or that doesn't. But I think our we advocate for strong communities and secure housing in Maryland has been like a really good place to settle on because it includes our, vastly different folks. But I will say that um, we're at a time with the legislature changing, that sort of what is our shared vision and shared message? There's a lot of efforts to uh, uh, break into that or bust into that and say, well, they don't all care about, you only care about Baltimore City or you only care about rural or you only care about, and so I think we're still working on what that single message is, but I appreciate you asking for it because I think it's great, and it's an important advocacy strategy.
Beautiful, beautiful. Any more questions around People and Places Day? Thank you so much, Janelle. Bunny.
I'll be there. The Rebuilding Together affiliates in Maryland are one of the sponsors, which we're really excited about. Um, but I just put this in the chat, but I wanted to say, in case we're getting ready to sign off, is the Claudia just linked the Google Doc with the CDN 2026 priorities, and I clicked on it, and my access was blocked. So I think you might need to make the link.
Okay, I just unlocked it. Try it again. Thank you. I just unlocked it. I didn't see that, but I thought I had unlocked it before.
Thanks.
All
Good
right.
now. All good now.
Beautiful. All right. And so there is one last thing before we do get to the closing. So just wanted to share with you another one of the Community Development Network's really big upcoming events. It is going to be the National Low Income Housing Coalition Capitol Hill Day. And so what that is, essentially how People in Places is for advocacy in Maryland, where we visit, the Maryland delegates, the Maryland Senate. The National Low Income Housing Coalition Capitol Hill Day is essentially the same thing for the federal government. So we'll be visiting Angela Also Brooks, we'll be visiting Chris Van Hollen, we'll be visiting Johnny Olowinski, we'll be visiting Sarah Elfreth, all of our federal elected representatives, and Fume, we're going to be visiting them, essentially doing very similar advocacy, except we're going with the National Low Income Housing Coalition, which focuses federally on a lot of different aspects of housing, homelessness, et cetera, et cetera. They do have their own advocacy toolkit. So, like Janelle, how you were talking earlier about us all being on the same page with our advocacy, they have an entire toolkit, which when we send you the PowerPoint, you can go directly to it. You can see all of their priorities, but the major thing that they're focusing on is storytelling this year. And storytelling from essentially the same standpoint as we are on People and Places Day. We're focusing on the real life experiences of people who are doing the work, people who are actively affected by the work not being done, and just being able to have our elected officials have an understanding of what's really going on, because there's usually a degree of separation, and we're trying to bring that directly to their face. So um, I, along with Mary Kohler, so Mary Kohler is our Montgomery County organizer. I'm the Baltimore City organizer. We're going to be captaining this effort this year. So if you want to know any more information around Capitol Hill Day, what it looks like, well, on the slide it says where we're meeting at. By all means, reach out to me. It's very important that on every single level, we talk to our elected officials about what's actively going on, not just for funding purposes, but so that they can understand what's actively going on. So, once again, the link to the Capitol Hill Day Eventbrite is here, and then the toolkit is here. All right, we're getting into the wrapping up, people. So, once again, follow us on social media. We are on, of course, we have our website, but we also have our newsletter that we sent out. I think it was around a week ago. We're on YouTube. So that's actually where this is going to be put. So this will be put on YouTube. All of our equitable development meetings are put on YouTube. Also, we're doing a partnership spotlight for all organizations that are part of our network. You know, we're going around doing videos with them, interviews with them about what their organizations do, the importance of their work, any projects they want to highlight, and then we're putting it all on social media so that we can highlight the important work that you all are doing. If you're interested, by all means, reach out to me. And then our Instagram, their Instagram is starting to go very crazy. You know, a lot of amazing work, a lot of amazing shorts about the work that's being done. Go over there, follow it, tell other people to follow it so that they know what's going on. Okay. And so, last but not least, thank you from our team. Yes, this is actually all of us. This is what we all look like, in case you didn't know. Yeah, and that is our February Equitable Development meeting.
Eddie, when's our next meeting?
Oh, so our next meeting is actually going to be on June 7th. In March, we're not going to be doing a meeting because we're going to be doing People and Places Day. So that will be March 3rd. So that will technically be our equitable development meeting in March. We are skipping April because we wanted to give people a break. And so our meeting after that actually will be on May. It'll be like the second Tuesday in May. That date, I will send out that date to everybody, and then after that, it'll be on June 7th, and then so on and so forth. So that will be our next meeting date. All right. So,
Any questions?
any questions? So May 12th is our next meeting. May 12th is our next meeting. And then after that, it will be June 9th.
Eddie, can you do me a favor and pull up the photo of the group again so I can put faces with the names when I meet everybody?
Oh, of course, of course. So we're going to throw this up here.
And
All
I
right.
apologize for not being, oh, beautiful group. Okay.
So on the left, this is Danny. This is Levi Johnson. He's our social media manager. This is Mary Kohler. She is our Montgomery County organizer. This is Claudia Wilson Randall, the boss who runs this thing. This is me.
Hey.
And then this is Ruth Griffin. She is our housing, counseling, navigator, mastermind, all of the things.
Thank you, sir.
Of course, of course. And that was for everyone else in case you didn't know. All right. Any questions, comments, concern before we close out? No? Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you, wonderful folks, for coming. All of this information will be sent out to you along with the recording and all extra information needed. Eventbrites, testimonies, etc., etc., etc. You're all beautiful. Be well, be well. Nah, nah.